OTC. Are you down with OTC? 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 Down with OTC.
So that's the big question. Are you down with OTC? Welcome to the HODL Review. This is Jeff. You are here live exclusively on the chain. So we are going to be talking a little bit about FOMO time. We're going to talk a little bit about mainstream media getting into the FOMO game. They've been doing this for a long time. And there's a ton of stuff like every single day, I'm like, at some point, the news is just going to kind of dwindle out and there's not going to be anything new to talk about. And that time definitely is not now because there is, stuff going on with Hedera Hashgraph. There's obviously some movement with XRP. There's some movement with Bitcoin. There's some movement with Ethereum. There's some discussion on regulatory clarity. CNBC is dropping all sorts of FOMO all over the place. All the big media sources are dropping FOMO all over the place. The one thing that is consistent is that the direction of this digital asset space is moving up and up and up. And that is what is so extremely impressive. So, hey, I want to have everyone give a shout out to where you guys are tuning in from. So it's great to see you guys tuning in from all over the world because in some places it's 8 a.m. and others it's 5 a.m. here in the U.S. and in others it's already nighttime and you guys are tuning in from all over the place. So welcome no matter where you're from. Like I said, just give it a quick shout out and we want to get started right away here. So what is the first thing that we should be talking about? Look at this. We got, what is that? 6 Hunt. It's, where's that? What time is it over there? 9 p.m. So you're way over there, getting into the zone of Asia somewhere, 9 p.m. So, it's what's strange. If you go to India, India is like on the half-hour cycle. So it's an interesting place in the time zone. And from the US, from the East Coast, you end up being 10 and a half hours ahead. And that half hour throws you off completely. We've got, people coming in from the UK. So we got 2K Law coming in from the UK, 1 p.m. So it's perfectly lunchtime over there. Got these brand new Sigfredo espresso cups. And these are legit. These things are solid. Not sure, it didn't say where they were made from, but it was amazing. I ordered them and they came and it said that they were from 2016. So these have been sitting in the Sigfredo factory somewhere for the past 5 years. And these are just legit, like the type that you get when you go to the coffee shop type of, you know, I don't know. It's not depth. I don't know, whatever. But so today, make sure you guys go out, grab some espresso because you're going to need it to get through what we're going to talk about this morning. Today's espresso is Valhalla. I think I was drinking it last weekend. I don't remember. But the Valhalla Java, it's called. And it's actually made by Death Wish. And the flavors of this one, Death Wish can be like overpoweringly strong depending how you make it. And Death Wish is really good. The Valhalla, and it gives you some nice flavors too. So I'd highly recommend it. We got Edward coming in all the way from Florida. So welcome all the way in from Florida. We got some friends in here from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Not that far off from Detroit. And then let me see here. It's raining in the UK. I've never known it to rain in the UK. So that's a big surprise. And we've got it looks like a new friend coming in from El Salvador. So that's fantastic. And what do we got here? We've got Germany. So welcome everybody. We got someone in here from Basel, Switzerland. Welcome. That's another great place. You guys ever get to travel around, make sure you make your way to Switzerland, Scotland, another great place. UK, great. See, we got Texas here. And then we've got right here, we got Ocala, Florida. So we got a lot of people tuning in from all over the place. So that's great. All right, I wanted to pull this one up because Charles II has said here, personally, I think we need to cool off with XRP. But then after the lawsuit, we should see a nice, slow but sustained rally, really in bad media driven FOMO form. So that is, that's an interesting perspective because that's probably exactly what's going to end up happening. But we're starting to see, some momentum picking up, and the momentum that we're seeing in the XRP space, I think, is overall positive, because one of the things that it's showing is a complete separation of the digital asset from the anxiety of the lawsuit against Ripple, the company. And you need that kind of separation because what's happened is that when the lawsuit complaint was filed, when was that? Back end of December, I believe. You have the lawsuit filed by the SEC against Ripple. At that time, we're starting to see a nice, movement in the digital asset space in general. So we saw a nice movement coming from Bitcoin, from Ethereum, from all the digital assets, XRP included, when XRP had actually reached around 60 cents. And then you saw the lawsuit, complaint filed by the SEC. And then you saw a huge reversal of XRP down back to like 20 cents. And there it sat for a fairly decent period of time. I think it might have touched 15 cents at one point. But what's critical now is that we're starting to see another big movement in the market. Obviously, Bitcoin is hovering in that $50,000 spot right now. I'd love to pull up my screen. I'm gonna, if I try it, the problem is that there's some sort of an error going on with the platform. And the last few times I've done it, it just blanks out the camera for some reason. So you guys can kind of imagine all this stuff in your head until we can get this stuff figured out. But according to the CoinGecko, let's shake the CoinGecko 8-ball and see where we're at with things here. So we are at, let's see, 59 cents right now for XRP. XRP is sitting in the 6th spot, but that 59 cents is more meaningful than just being at 59 cents and being double the value it was from about a month ago. We see that XRP has actually moved about 30% in the past 7 days, but the significance of it is that basically what I started talking about is that we're seeing a separation of XRP from the anxiety of the lawsuit. So if the lawsuit anxiety was maintaining, then we'd see XRP basically stuck. Now, one of the things, and me included, I thought that we would see XRP continue to slide downwards. I saw it get, when it was at that 20 cent mark, people were stacking up. Obviously, it was being pulled off of a majority of the exchanges in the US, starting with Coinbase and many of the others, where they decided to freeze trading of XRP. Now, one of the primary exchanges that you can still trade on is Uphold. I believe on Bitrue, you can still trade XRP. Binance US, not sure. I think that they froze it. But I know that on Bitrue, but I know for sure on Uphold, you can still buy and sell XRP on Uphold. That's in the US, but this is also showing something even more telling, which is the whole point of the Ripple response. Not the whole point, but one of the points of the Ripple response is that there's a clear separation of the digital asset from what they are doing as a company. And in fact, XRP is a global phenomenon, and it is adopted at a much, maybe larger percentage and higher rate, higher volume in Asia and in Europe than it is in the US. The US isn't the sole trader. Individuals in the US aren't the sole traders of XRP. And so it's very, clear that as we start seeing the push upwards, the momentum that we're seeing, a ton of momentum coming out of Japan and other parts of Asia and Europe. And so now we're seeing that price point pushing back towards that 60 cent mark that it was at back in end of December when they decided to file the complaint against Ripple. So it has a lot of meaning. Obviously, people are happy from a FOMO perspective. People are fired up because it's, getting back in kind of in tune with the growth of the marketplace and, the direction. So if you look at Bitcoin, for instance, over the past 7 days. So if you have the kind of money and you're a player in Bitcoin, then in the past 7 days you've seen a 23.9% gain. Now there's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty decent gain. Ethereum has had a 4.5% gain over the past 7 days. That's tiny, but still moving forward. And so we've seen, Ethereum over the past little while has had a little bit more of a bump up. Cardano has had like the biggest jump. And I'm kicking myself right now because me personally, I decided, hey, I had money in Ethereum. I wanted to take it off of Robinhood. I took it off of Robinhood. There was some downtime. I put it over to Uphold. And I said, I'm going to put it back into Ethereum. I bought Ethereum at a slightly higher rate than what I sold it at. But I had been holding Ethereum for a long time. And so I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to put it all into Cardano. And at the last second, I chose not to. That's when it was sitting at 60 cents. And here's Cardano right now sitting at almost 90 cents with a 67.2% increase. But that doesn't mean anything because next week it could be reverse. So you have to look long term. I'm not personally, my objective in this space, I'm not trading. I'm not trying to move anything around weekly or even monthly. I'm projecting out, years. So, so that's okay. But then you look at where can you put, if you're putting new money in, if you want to invest or if you are reshuffling, look at XRP. XRP is up 30%, over the past 7 days. Polkadot had moved up into the 5th spot, with Cardano being number 4 in terms of market cap, Polkadot being number 5 as far as market cap. But Polkadot sitting right now at $28 had moved up 36%. So look at the growth. You have Bitcoin and Ethereum only at 4.5%. Bitcoin, which had been seeing huge momentum at 23%, but the big players are really sitting in the altcoin. Because you have Cardano making big play, Polkadot making a big play in the past 7 days. XRP, again, to me, the significance of it moving back to 60 cents, much more, it has much more meaning than just the, doubling of the valuation, because again, it relates to the separation of the digital asset from this lawsuit. Now, the lawsuit, gets settled and XRP is found to be not a security, and all the exchanges in the US decide to open up and unfreeze the buy and sell of XRP, then the sky's the limit at that point. Where does it go? Does it go to $1? Does it go beyond $1? Does XRP over the next 7 days, if we continue with a 30 or 40% growth, does it hit $1? Because at 30% growth from 60 cents is, it's pretty significant. It's going to get us a lot closer to that dollar value, and it's there. I mean, it's definitely possible at this point. Why not? Especially if we've seen 30%, because it could go up 40, 50%, and then we're sitting over $1 at that point. But $1 right now, I think the 60-cent mark was critical. Had the SEC not filed their complaint, there's a high probability chance that right now XRP would be well over $1. Who knows what it would be at, but it's almost a foregone conclusion. Just looking at the track record of every other asset around it, it would have been in that spot. So now again, breaking away, moving forward. It's important to look at. Binance Coin to me is a big surprise, sitting at $129. I wish I could pull up this screen and you guys could look at what I'm looking at here. I'm afraid to do that because it might black out my camera again. I tested it out the other night on our live stream and it blacked out. I tried it even in incognito mode and it blacked it out. So I got to get in touch with the software guys and figure out what's going on. But Binance Coin at $129, Binance Coin at an 89% growth gain over the past 7 days. Now that is extremely, extremely impressive. But what does Binance Coin do exactly other than, make, what is it doing on the platform? I mean, is it connected to the platform? Is it? So if we want to look at what a security is or what a security isn't, then Binance Coin, from all perspectives, could essentially be considered a security because of, based on the SEC going after XRP based on the claims they're making against Ripple. The same thing could be argued for Ethereum, that in 2014, when they started distributing the Ethereum token, that the Ethereum Foundation was raising money, and essentially the Ethereum token then would have been a security. And in fact, the SEC has alluded to that fact that Ethereum could very well have been a security back in 2014, and then they made the claim that it no longer is. So this whole lawsuit against XRP is very, incongruous, and and it's interesting that they're kind of singling it out. To me, it seems like it's more politically motivated, and not politically in terms of one party or the other, but politically motivated because there's other elements in the ecosystem that are wanting to single out Ripple and also then the digital asset XRP. So that politics, could be coming from, it could be global. It could be coming from the IMF. It could be coming from central banks. It could be coming from the Federal Reserve in the US. There could be a lot of elements, politically speaking, that are influencing the SEC to have filed that lawsuit against Ripple. Or maybe it's just the SEC seeking, pure clarity on what's happening. And to me, if you're looking for clarity, then hey, why not? That could be interesting. So what do we have here? Use Zoom and screen share mode. Yeah, right. That's the problem isn't isn't the screen share mode. It's that the software is conflicting with something, and it then disconnects my camera as we're streaming. So we'll put something up here and we'll try it out and see if that happens. Yep. Yeah, I know how to share my screen. It's not a matter of how to share it. It's a matter of the technical glitch that is interrupting when I share the screen. So, all right, let's see here. Elon's tweets pump Doge less and less every time lately. Not going to end well, but at least some people had fun. Maxwell, I agree with that. And it's people have asked me, hey, what about Doge? Doge is great. People that are just getting into the digital asset space now. What about Doge? Doge could be a great thing to get into. And I look at it, I said, well, not that long ago, Doge was hovering, in the under 1 cent mark, and even even the founder of the cryptocurrency. So here, let's do this. All right. So for Right Coast Crypto, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna try to do. Let's see. If I lose my camera, then that's what's gonna happen. Let's see what happens. All right, I'm gonna pull this up. This was. Oh, there we go. I lost my camera immediately. Immediately. Look at that. That's unreal. So that's crazy. That's so crazy how the software just disconnects my camera. So I had to try it and see, maybe they fixed it, but obviously they did not. So check this out. So the Dogecoin founder has said that crypto's rise is not something that he can comprehend. The rise of Dogecoin, and that, you know, can you imagine? I mean, he invented it. He's one of them. There are two guys. They put the Dogecoin together, and then they get out of it. And then the Dogecoin community springs up and gravitates and kind of builds on the momentum of what they had rolled out, this platform they'd rolled out. And it was actually, fairly impressive to see the community that kind of gathered around the Dogecoin. And what they did with Dogecoin was, as a community, I mean, they've done a lot of great things. But as far as the founder, and this was from 2015. So look at this. Philly Marcus said he sold all of his crypto in 2015 after he was laid off. So this statement, to me, it seems like he's a little bit bitter also. So 6 years ago, he sold all of his crypto, and he's one of the original founders. Now, he said that it took him 3 hours to write the code for the Dogecoin. But look at Dogecoin has sponsored NASCAR, the community, Dogecoin community has done so much. But to me, at this point, it just seems like, man, he sold out of it. He was the one that actually, put this together, and apparently doesn't own any. So it's crazy. Marcus went on to note that he is not getting rich off Dogecoin, which is up 2,327 in the past 3 months. He claims to have sold all of his Dogecoin 6 years ago. Now, could you imagine you're the founder of Dogecoin and you sold everything, and you see the direction of the space, but he set it up as kind of a joke. But still, I mean, you would figure, hey, you've got, just keep 1 million of it. Do something, with this idea that it's going in a direction, but he didn't. I guess you got to you kind of live in the moment. But, I don't currently own any Dogecoin except what has been tipped to me recently. Marcus wrote in the post, I gave away and or sold all the crypto I had back in 15 after being laid off and scared about my dwindling savings at the time, for about enough in total to buy a used Honda Civic. So, and obviously, the digital asset, hadn't really moved, significantly, during the period of time, that it was originally, I guess, when he originally invented it or rolled it out or wrote the code or whatever. But now, I mean, it's made some, massive movements as of late. Yeah, it's just really, really amazing. Look at this from Elon Musk. Frodo was the underdog, under Doge. All thought he would fail himself most of all. That's hilarious. That's a that's a hilarious tweet right there. Oh my God, that's funny. So anyhow, all right, let me do something real quick. Hang on. Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna leave for 1 second and I will come right back. Hang on 1 second. All right, there we go. Oh, Did it? It didn't kick everybody off. All right. So anyhow, you can see there's this weird disruption in the software. So came back in. I'm back. So all right, let's go through some more of this. So that was kind of a little bit of the Doge. Then we've got, it's interesting because we've talked about, I was talking a little bit about the politicization of the digital asset space, the politicization potentially of the case against Ripple. Who's behind it? Who could be, really focused in on bringing them down, or quote unquote putting them in their place. And another one, here would be Yellen. So I'm not saying that Yellen is the one that's trying to single this out, because Janet Yellen is relatively new to the space. As far as being the Treasury Secretary, not new to the space in general politically, but she is the new U.S. Treasury Secretary. So I believe, you could look at the Treasury, you could look, like I said, the Federal Reserve, you can go global. Is it a global phenomenon that they're looking at Ripple? Because Swift is like the that's the catalyst. So Ripple is looking to offset what Swift does in the space. Swift has been around since 1974. Swift is a conglomerate of over 10,000 banks. The banks then lose a little bit of their control by migrating away from Swift and working with a platform like Ripple or RippleNet. But at the same time, the banks are in it to make money, and the banks can see the benefit of moving over to a platform like RippleNet, because RippleNet's messaging platform is more impactful and has a failure rate of next to zero, whereas the Swift solution has a much higher failure rate, because anything above zero is a high failure rate when you're sending money cross border. And a lot of that failure rate boils down to the fact that it has to pass through individuals' hands. It's not automated 100%. So there's people involved in the process, and consider that Swift is just the communication facilitator. Then there still needs to be a third-party settlement process, many times using Nostro Vostro accounts, but there's this third party providing for settlement of the money moved that's using Swift. So you have multiple parties involved. So now with Ripple, the key point there is that you get rid of that third party, you get rid of the need for Nostro Vostro. That means that banks are not putting millions of dollars in other banks and having accounts in other banks to facilitate the easy move of money into that currency in that transfer. So banks are losing some of that money, but yet the banks that are also gaining by not having to put money out there in other banks. So there's kind of, I guess that's a wash. But then you have this ODL, which is what RippleNet is all about. The messaging is important. And we've talked about this a million times. You guys know it. But the ODL, the on-demand liquidity, is the game-changing solution in what RippleNet is offering. Because without ODL, RippleNet is just another Swift, and maybe some banks will leave, maybe some banks won't. It's more efficient, it's better, but then you have to change the whole, you have to change your, implementation. So basically, you're just selling a better mousetrap. Maybe Swift improves their mousetrap a little, maybe they don't, but the cost of migrating to a new platform might be more costly than banks in their minds, so they're very reluctant. But this game changer of ODL is so meaningful to allow for almost instantaneous settlement without a third party, without the Nostro Vostro accounts. It's extremely impactful to what the banks want to accomplish, which is easily moving money for their clients. Now, if you can accomplish that with almost no error, now you stand out. So now Swift, it would look at that. Again, Swift, think about a conglomerate of over 10,000 banks, plus the government involvement in it for the past 40 plus years. 46, 47 years. So think about that involvement. Now that is the politicization of potentially why they singled out Ripple, why they're going after it in the lawsuit, and why they're also trying to single out the digital asset XRP as being having been or still being a security, and why ignore what the Ethereum Foundation did and make almost make amends and say, hey, that's fine, you're no longer a security, but yet single out this one. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't meet any of the needed criteria to single them out as a security. We can keep digging in, but so here we have this politicization mindset. And so you have Janet Yellen, who's now the Treasury Secretary. One thing that we know is that when she came in to her position not that long ago, we're only talking about a couple weeks ago, she was extremely belligerent to the digital asset space. Over a weekend, so this could have been, that was like on a Thursday. Over the weekend, somebody obviously went and tapped her on the shoulder and had a conversation with her, because then by the end of the weekend, she put out a statement saying that she sees digital asset as a good thing, that it's actually something positive that's building in a space. So it's a very, very strange about face. And a lot of those types of things get missed if you're not watching, and understanding the history that led up to it. So, a lot of people, focus in on just that one snapshot of somebody's statement here and now. But you have to go back and see what potentially led up to their decision-making process and where they came from. And then when you see an inconsistency, like with her, a big inconsistency that changed overnight. It wasn't like you could see she went to conferences. She started slowly, understanding and having this awakening. It was overnight. It was just like a light switch on, off one day, on the next. And now it's flickering a little bit, because one of the things that she came out on Thursday, she said that the Treasury is going to fight the misuse of cryptocurrencies, yet they want to foster innovation. So, so it's almost as though they're still trying to figure out how to overstep their boundary. Now, that being said, the one thing that the Treasury or the SEC and you could make the argument that government is supposed to be doing is to make sure that retail consumers, that people aren't taken advantage of by others. Now, while they do that, many times the governments will impose harsh restrictions or harsh penalties or harsh fees that supposedly are to prevent the misuse, let's call it, of these cryptocurrencies. Yet because of the harsh regulations, then it makes it more difficult or not as viable to move into a certain space. For instance, capital gains taxes. So if you penalize individuals with a high percentage of capital gains tax, and in some instances it has been as high as, let's say, 70 or 80%, then you're punishing an individual for going out and trying to make money. And their argument is that, your capital gains tax is made on something, that you're investing. But so what? Why is it then the government's responsibility to penalize an individual for making money however they see fit? If I want to take $100,000 and invest it in something and make 50,000 or another 100 or 10, why is it then the government's responsibility or role to overburden that individual with high fees and taxation? So the same thing then rings true when it comes to the digital asset space, that right now in the US, every country handles their taxation a little bit differently. And actually, I read through a research on that Tom Emmer had been involved in, and they were researching, or Congressman Tom Emmer had significantly pointed out, because Congressman Tom Emmer is also, making an argument that in order for us to see the true growth and innovation within this digital asset space and cryptocurrency space, there has to be a clarity of understanding of the taxation. Because right now, if you do not have a clear understanding of what the taxation is against your movement in the digital asset space, then you're operating in an unknown with an unknown that could then come back and haunt you and penalize you severely. So right now, think about an airdrop. An airdrop is taxable. It's a full taxable event. You're getting something that has value, and it's 100% value. So let's say you get $100, whatever that taxation is, then you're paying tax. So let's say right now, if it's going to be based on, let's say they do a capital gains on it, then you're going to pay X. If it's based on your current status, your income tax rate, it's going to be taxed at X. So let's say you end up getting taxed on it 25 or 30%, but at least you have an understanding of it, that that's exactly what's going on. In France, as I was reading through how their taxation is, if you mine, you're taxed based on the mining of that digital asset on its face value. As soon as it's mined, you get taxed. Now, as soon as you sell that digital asset, whatever gain you make off of it, you then get taxed on that again. And so there's this double taxation that goes on in France. Now, so one of the things that Tom Emmer had pointed out, and that, I'm getting a little uncomfortable with what Janet Yellen is talking about here. She wants to fight the misuse of cryptocurrencies, but in order to fight the misuse of cryptocurrencies, that means they're going to raise the level of, penalties against individuals. And so it's always going to filter downwards. So what Tom Emmer is saying is that he wants some clarity. And so to me, there's a distinction between regulations and regulatory clarity. Regulatory clarity allow us to understand the rules of the game, and everybody then understands that, here's what we're facing, here's what we're up against. Now with regulations are directly, impacting, because they want to regulate what you're doing. So you have the clarity everybody can agree to, and there'll be an understanding. So there's some clarity of how you're supposed to operate. But then on top of that, then they seek to put penalty and overburden you with malicious regulation. And so, there's definitely a lot of that. So let me see here. Are you talking? Oh, Chris, maybe you're talking to somebody else over here. Okay. So, so what Janet Yellen is talking about here is that, the Treasury wants to fight the misuse of cryptocurrencies. Now, they single out that cryptocurrency digital asset is being, is basically being used for nefarious purpose. But one of the things that she said here is that the new financial technologies could also help fight crime. But then she also focuses on and reduce inequality. Now, why is it the government's, why is it the government's place at this point to try to, implement the reduction of inequality through digital asset? Because the cryptocurrency growth, is creating opportunities for people. It hasn't, up until this point, it has not required the input of government to help reduce inequality, which is then burdening somebody, because you're going to take from somebody to give to somebody else. But yet the space on its own for the past 10 years has moved in such a way that it has reduced inequalities by giving people opportunities to invest in something that has grown, exponentially over the past 10 years, and continues to do so with new projects, with airdrops. And the community itself in the digital asset space operates and functions distinctly different than any financial asset class we've ever seen in the past, especially since it has its own internal governance structures within each one of these types of assets And so when you see like things like, think about Flare. Flare says for XRP holders, doesn't matter if hold 1,000 of them or you hold 1,000,000 of them. But guess what? When Flare decided they were going to launch the Spark token, they said we're going to airdrop 1-for-1 to every holder of XRP as long as you held it on the snapshot date of December 12th. Has the government ever said, and is it their place to then force some company to distribute their digital asset to others? It's not. And so the fact that Flare has done it and many other digital assets in the space have airdropped assets to individuals without the governance of this big, overwhelming, government. The government intrusion into that space. So what Janet Yellen is basically alluding to is that she's number one saying that they want to fight the misuse of cryptocurrencies. But what are they fighting and how are they fighting it? And why do they think they can use it to fight crime and reduce inequality? Again, why is it their place to reduce inequality when the space was doing that on its own? It makes no sense. It just makes no sense, So, all right, let me go back over here to the chat. Hang on a second. Let's see. Oh, I like that. DNI, did I say IMF? I must have said IMF. I've been putting up the IMF bat signal, for so long. And then finally, look at this. See, normally I scroll this bat signal and then DNI comes in, but DNI is in without the bat signal now. But yeah, exactly. 199 other countries asked what lawsuit. All right, there was something else that came up here. Hang on a second. Oh, here we go. Oh, wait, no, this one here first. Hang on. We'll get to that one. Gamer, yeah, XRP could issue an airdrop of a new token, XRD, Ripple Dollar, to all XRP holders and replace XRP. And the SEC would then not be able to stop them from selling to accredited investors. There's all sorts of things. Yeah, Gamer for Life. I mean, there's obviously a lot of things that could be done, from that perspective as well, using the accredited investors. But are only making things available to accredited investors. But at this point, I don't see them. Maybe they will airdrop to everybody, and maybe that's, who knows if that's going to be something that is going to be required. I don't know that they're going to then destroy XRP and try to replace it, or if they airdrop something on top of. I don't know. I find it difficult for them to destroy XRP, mainly because at this point, it being utilized as a kind of baked into the XRP ledger. But also then you'd have to go against, and for them to even make a decision like that, how are you then going to dismantle the XRP ledger when they don't control the governance of the XRP ledger? So the XRP ledger exists without Ripple. XRP exists without Ripple. So they've already also made the statement that even their escrow is controlled by the validators. So the validators could decide to vote, and 80% of the validators could vote to actually burn every last XRP. That means the 50 whatever billion that are sitting left in escrow, they could vote to burn all of them. So yes, they could airdrop additional asset to people, but they would not be able to burn the XRP ledger or XRP. And so, and again, this goes back to my opinions anyways. I mean, this is all my opinion. But the other part of that is that this whole lawsuit is only in the U.S. jurisdiction. And like DNI was saying, there's 199 other countries that are saying, what lawsuit? Japan already has ruled on this, that it's a cryptocurrency and it falls within those guidelines in Japan, and in many other countries the same outcome. Whereas in the US, though, they're only tied up on this here in the US. That's why it seems like it's politically motivated to have this lawsuit filed against Ripple at the timing it was filed. Not saying one party or the other. I think it's beyond outside of the party structure. I think there's more to it, from the banking lobbyists. There's a lot more to what's going on than what we're seeing. Here we go. Jake from State. My question is, what point will price reflect the usage of XRP? I feel like the retail market is not connected to the institutions using it. And I agree. I don't believe that it is. And right now, the percentage of institutions that are using ODL are relatively small. So I think we see a relatively small volume of XRP being utilized in the ODL space. So let's say if they call it a turning on a switch, but let's say as more and more of the banks and financial institutions migrate to the RippleNet ODL solution, then at that point, you're going to, I believe anyways, you'll see an uptick in the use of XRP across the board. And once it's used by a handful of banks, then it's just going to increase from there, because they're going to see that settle. And that's what I started with in the beginning, that for Ripple, their solution could just be another competitor with Swift, or it could be a complete game changer, which is utilizing ODL. And without ODL, it's not a game changer. Without ODL, it's not even interesting to talk about it anymore, because it's just Ripple is just a competitor with Swift doing things basically the same, just a little bit better. The only thing exciting about it, the only thing interesting about it is the ODL, is the possibility of what they're doing in the blockchain space. Now, if they don't do it, somebody else will. And we're seeing that even R3 is tying up with I think R3 was tying up somehow with XDC. And so now we see Hedera Hashgraph doing some interesting things in their space. But there are other solutions out there. I'm not saying Hedera Hashgraph is involved in the banking, but when you have BNY Bank and all these banks that are now seeing the benefit of the digital asset space above and beyond just a CBDC that has no real connection in many times to the digital asset blockchain space. Hang on. Oh, good stuff. All right. Yeah, let's see here. All right, I'm just looking through. Here we go. Do you think JP Morgan banks generally has a finger on this case? Man, that's a great question. Again, I think that there were a lot of involvement in bringing this suit. I really do. It just, the orchestration of it just seems like there were more levers being pulled, pushing them in this direction of a lawsuit. And again, it could be to say we want them out, or it could say, hey, SEC, they've been after you for 7 years, 8 years, since 2013. Ripple hasn't hidden. Ripple has been very out in the open with everything they do, and even with the SEC, to the point that when they tied up and bought into MoneyGram, that was out in the open. They had to register that with the SEC. And part of that registration was, hey, by the way, SEC, this is coming from Ripple, they are giving them X amount of XRP that MoneyGram is probably going to sell right away. So, it's all recorded and very transparent in the space. Everything they've done has been relatively transparent. So that's why I find it, just the timing of it, all of it. Again, could they be orchestrating to finally get clarity on it, to say we need to put an end to it and we need clarity, we need to know what's going on, and then we move forward? Or do they have some nefarious purpose to really want to destroy it? And I don't know. I don't know that they would want to do that. So let's see. So, it's interesting. Elron, so you're focusing on valuation, on the market cap, but the market cap isn't, I mean, it obviously you can look at that calculation. Here's how many you have. Here's how do you know what the valuation of it should or shouldn't be? The valuation of an asset is what the market says it is. So can it be overvalued? The entire space, based on, your point, then the entire space is overvalued, because Bitcoin's value is based somewhat on scarcity and somewhat on the fact that people have accepted it as a method of value, and they've applied that value to it. Without that acceptance from the market, there's nothing. There's nothing backing it up other than the speculation and the agreement of, from all the people around the world, that Bitcoin has a value right now of $48,000. Take away the people and that belief structure, that agreement, and it's got no value, nothing. So, can your e-gold, and I've been watching e-gold kind of, drive up. Does it have any substance? Or is it also speculative in nature? Because then you can make that argument for every digital asset in the space right now. Now, the difference is, yes, if you have so many of them, then we're sticking to our traditional, thought process of valuation, because the market cap is only a reflection of what the value is currently, based on, multiplied by how many there are. I mean, it's really doesn't have so much meaning. I mean, would you think sitting here right now today that Bitcoin would be valued at $50,000? I mean, even back when it was worth 6 cents, did they think one day it would be worth 50,000? Does it make sense that it's 50,000? Does it make sense that Bitcoin, will most likely, based on the trajectory, go to 100,000? Does that even make sense? So there's nothing behind. So if you take a company, you can value a company. You can look at the shares, the outstanding shares. You can look at, their balance sheet. You can look at, their assets. You can look at everything. You look at all the different variables that can help value the stock. And then you have the speculation, and then you have the FOMO, and then you have all the different manipulative measures that go on behind the scenes with a stock that can push it up or down. So I find it really difficult to even try to assess what the true, market valuation should be for any digital asset. So again, is it overvalued? Is it undervalued? Man, again, you can make that argument for every single digital asset in the space. And you could say right now, Ethereum is overvalued. Bitcoin is overvalued. E-gold is overvalued. Anything over zero is overvalued, because what is the product? What is it doing? That means it's overvalued. So great. Elrond is paying 30% for running a node. That's awesome. But why do you come in and you want to come and attack other digital assets in the space without having a strong argument to defend it? Because the very asset that you're trying to defend is overvalued, according to your same argument. But I think it's awesome, and I've been following the e-gold, and maybe it is a very viable project. It could be, perfect, but maybe it isn't. But the fact that you can get paid to run a node, that's awesome. But you got to look at the whole picture. You got to look at everything. So is there any difference if you have your XRPs in a wallet or on the platform? Really, no. I mean, there's no difference, other than, and this goes back, and Chip and I have had this discussion back and forth many times, as to whether or not you're secure on a hard wallet, or are you more secure on a platform? So now, obviously, the platform that you want to be secure on, you want to make sure that they're going to, abide by all security protocol. Nothing is 100% safe and guaranteed. However, you see the long-term existence of some of these platforms. If you guys remember, what was it? Quadriga CX or RX or FX, or whatever it was, but the Canadian exchange, it was a popular Canadian exchange. It had relatively lower volume engagement compared to others. The owner and CEO of the exchange was the only individual in that company to manage the keys. And apparently, he managed everything on a ledger, on a hard wallet. He managed, and that's how he protected his keys. Now, that individual went to India, happened to go to one part of India that was notorious for people disappearing. He went to that part of India and died. Suppose he had a heart attack. Problem was, he took the passwords, the keys, he took the password to his encrypted laptop. He took everything. So this guy dies. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But the point is that he took everything with him. Everything. So all the money that people held on those platforms was basically gone. And so that's the risk that you could take on an exchange. Now, you put it on, that you look at an exchange like Uphold, Coinbase, Bitrue, Gemini, Kraken, Binance, Binance US, Bitstamp. I mean, there's exchanges all over the world. Do your research, do your due diligence. So Chip and I have argued, are you safer on an exchange because you go to like a Coinbase or an Uphold and you lose your login access? More or less, you have somewhere where you can turn to get access. If you put it on your ledger and you lose your seed words and you lose your ledger, you're screwed. You're done. So you have to make sure that your seed words are somewhere safe, maybe in a safety deposit box, maybe in a safe, maybe on an external hard drive, duplicated, take an image, type it in, whatever you have to do, make sure those seed words are off of your platform. Make sure you don't keep your seed words on your Google Drive or in your Dropbox. Not to say that you could be hacked and someone could take it, but you never know. Just like if the exchange was hacked. So, there's like a back and forth. I know, I've used the ledger now for 3 years plus, and the ledger's been good. I don't mind it, but I also have asset on exchanges, on multiple different exchanges across the board. I've got assets on Celsius, and Celsius is another amazing platform. But is there a risk? I put a decent amount onto Celsius because you can gain interest on it, but I'm taking a risk. So what happens if Celsius shuts down? What happens to all your assets that are tied up over there? How fast are you able to get your assets off the platform? Do they then leave access to your assets? Because your assets, you should have access to your assets. So, there's a lot of things going on. Now, the other question you should ask is it safe to then borrow against your digital asset? And my opinion is no. And that goes against what Celsius is doing in some as part of their platform, goes against what, let's say, Nexo or others are doing, where they're allowing you to borrow against your digital asset on a margin. And so it's a margin account. So you get into it, and if people don't completely understand, some do, some understand completely what that margin account is, and they've read through, when you go and you borrow, you read through the fine print and you understand that if it dips below a certain value, you have to top it up to bring it back up to a certain value. It could be a very nice way to take out value from your digital asset, hoping it continues to increase in value. So you're able to take out money without, the tax ramification potentially, because you're borrowing against it. So there's a way, mechanism, but it's high risk. We're in a speculative space, and that speculative space, you're borrowing against an asset that's already speculative, even though it's growing. There's too many variables at risk, but you have to do your, kind of do your diligence. One thing that I learned from my grandmother years and years ago was to diversify your holdings, but diversify where you hold. My grandmother was notorious for that. She managed my grandfather's money somewhat. And so, but she put money in multiple different banks. But she was also, she came from a family that, kind of born in and around, uh, well, before that, she was kind of raised in that Great Depression kind of mentality. But that was, is an important lesson, especially when you look at banks and you know that FDIC only protects up to 250,000. So anything above that number, there has to be a secondary insurance to protect that. But at the same time, if one bank goes down, your other bank is safe. If that bank goes down, you've got cash sitting at home someplace. And she was notorious at the end when we were cleaning out her house. When it's another long story, but we found stacks of hundreds all over the place. So that was like taking it beyond to the extreme. But the thing is, if you look at like with this, you keep some on the ledger, you're safe on the ledger. Put some on this exchange, put some on that exchange, and you're safe. If one goes down, you've got these other backups, and you're not 100% out. If you lose your seed words, you're screwed because everything you have is on there. Same thing, with these other platforms. So, that's kind of, that's kind of my thought process with that. Hopefully that helps. And I don't even know where I got this. Oh, there are a ton of other comments here. But anyhow, I'm just realizing what the time is. You guys are awesome. Hey, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night for the round table with Chip and I. Chip is going to be doing a live stream tomorrow morning, I believe. So happy Valentine's Day, to everybody tomorrow, early Valentine's Day. If you're brand new to the channel, make sure you hit that red subscribe button. It's over here someplace. Hit that red subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notifier, because when you hit that bell notifier, then you will be notified when we go live, and that's important. And if we get it up there in time, then the notifications actually go out at the half hour, 30 minutes before we actually go live. So definitely make sure you hit that bell notifier, because you could be tied up in something, be like, oh man, that's right, it's that time of day already, I can't believe it. And the time goes quick, just like this hour goes by with all you guys. You're engaged. Your questions are awesome. Your comments are awesome. Mr. Elron Gold, your comments are awesome. Keep coming in. Keep putting those comments up there. It's awesome. Definitely want to hear more. Pop back in tomorrow for Chip. Pop back in tomorrow night for the roundtable. And we'll see you guys all here on the chain. That's it. That's what I got. What do you guys got? Trying to find this nice little easy segue out. Haha, wrong one. Out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.